Hey guys, welcome back to Carburetor Cowboy. Some of you may recognize these two cars, and if not, for the rest of you, this is the Ford versus Ferrari special. So here we are with the Ken Miles character car. This is one of 4 built by Superformance for the movie, and this is actually a wrap. So it's not paint, that's why it has that weird kind of look in the movie, but nonetheless, it's a fabulous thing. But to get with this car, it's just a base small block Ford, nothing special to it. It sounds awesome. It does go. It doesn't stop very well, but that's a whole nother thing. After miles of burning it up during production, brakes need some attention. This, this is not that wrench, but if you freeze frame it, it's actually an older Blue Point wrench, if you guys were just curious about it. And of course, during the thing, you've seen him, he breaks the windshield. Well, you actually don't see it break, but they did it. There's 3 broken windshields through that. As well, if you go back to the trunk, there was 3 trunks that they managed to beat into pieces. This car actually has one of those trunks still attached. I haven't personally driven this car, and I would love to. But next, let me show you the bigger star of the show. This is a camera-ready car-built GT40. This one was the blue and white car, aka the ball of yarn car. In the movie, when they were testing the aero on the car with the computer in the passenger seat, then they gave up and they went back to old tech by taping yarn to the car. That is this car. Later scenes, when they went to shoot the airport scene, when Ken Miles first sees the car with Carroll Shelby, it is this car. They repainted it blue to the white scheme. There's a second nose that comes with this car. This car, however, is LS3 powered. And all the GT40s in the movie were LS3 powered. Even the majority of the Ferraris were LS3 powered. But when you're doing movie cars, you need reliability, you need to start and run every day. She did all her own stunts. She ran all her own race. This car is an amazing little car to get into. I'd like to get some interior shots to show you guys how much room's not really in these cars. And once we do that, just imagine in your head to be trapped as a driver in one of these cars for hours on end doing the Le Mans. We'll also do a quick preview of what the motor sounds like and hopefully a startup video. Okay. Oh, here comes the struggle of a lifetime. We're going to time lapse this because this will probably take a bit. This car is not outfitted for a tall guy, more of a short guy, but definitely not outfitted for a round guy at any height. So get some popcorn, laugh with me because this is not going to be fun, but hilarious. Okay, made it in without injury, which is good. It's using a tilt and pedal set, so the pedals come up from the floor. They're not like a modern car hung from the top down, so that's kind of funky. For anybody who hasn't been in a car that is actually a built kind of race car, not that we have light, you can see the pedals, but the pedals are really, really close together. Throttle, or gas, if you would, brake and clutch. And for the guys that have driven race built cars, you understand what I'm saying all day long. If you have big feet, forget it. If you have wide feet, you do this. And it's just, it's a nightmare until you get used to it. We drive the Cobras a lot around here at Panavia, and the pedal box is small and it's off at a 45, so you sit crooked. This one is actually straight on, more like a normal car. The great thing about movie magic is they can engineer whatever they want to happen when they want it to happen. This car, for the most part, is static in its gauges. The gauges are all preset to certain points, and they have rheostatic control over the tachometer as well as the speedometer. So at any given time, they can change the rheostat, and this would read what they wanted to read. This car, it's got lots of knobs and switches and start buttons and horn buttons and turn signals that only go left but not right. And these are all the movie things. So when you see them hop in and you hear the car start and sometimes you see this or that happening, nothing's happening. This car, really, all of the real stuff that happens in this car, and by the way, this is the shifter for people who don't understand. This is actually all the real business gets done here. Wipers, fans for the motor, fogs, headlights, start, and aux. Here's the ignition, and we'll see what we get. Yeah, movie cars. Well, very typical because these cars don't really move a lot, and we will have to jump start this pig. But another great thing about race cars, like I said, they're made for skinny guys. Removable steering wheels are the only way you can get in and out of them, and they're the only way you can be kind of comfortable if you're a big dude. I could never drive this on the track because my arms and my gut conflict with each other. But like I said, these cars are built kind of like for jockeys and riding racehorses, a certain size person. A lot of time they will build the interior around the driver, much like a NASCAR. If you get in a NASCAR, it is built per the driver dimension. I don't know what to tell you. This one thing that's really scary about this car is, like I said, once you get closed in, it's really kind of claustrophobic because everything's close to you and there's not a room. Imagine wearing your race helmet on your head in this index of room. It's okay when you're not wearing one, but to be on a track for hours, this is very comfortable to sit, but once it gets hot in here, I can imagine it is just about impossible to live more than maybe 3 hours at a time. But let me hop out of this thing. We'll pop the back. I will show you the motor, and we'll talk a little bit about the motor. So we got the back bubble open, and as you guys can see, it is just a crate LS3 480 horse with the Porsche transaxle. It's a super, in real life, it's super easy to deal with, and it's a super stable setup. You can look, as most movie cars, when they're shooting from the front window and you can see kind of out the back window, the enemy is anything that shines because it takes away from the shot. So this is why it looks like they literally mobbed the whole engine bay with black paint. It's to knock down the shine. The only thing that was left is they made the faux induction. And of course, the owner of this car cannot skip a good joke because, you know, it is indeed a movie car. But this is atypical of movie cars. If you guys ever really wondered, they're not beautiful machines. They're not pretty, but they are functional. Okay, for the ones of you who want to know about the Cobra, like I said, this car's been wrapped. This was indeed the car that was used in the opening sequence. Here's the great thing. These, so much more human friendly. Yes, race car, no roof. Love this. Easy to get into. Oh, comfortable seats. Everything feels good about this car. But then again, this is an open cockpit car, and I could probably drive this one for hours. But beyond that, let's go into this. The gauges for a certain amount of time in those years, this is an accurate gauge setup. Do we know it's absolutely the accurate gauge setup? We're unsure, but a little research we can find out. Because they did run Smith gauges, but for a moment in time, they ran Stewart and Warner. So we're assuming this is the correct gauge setup that Miles in real life had in his car. But again, when you're in the movie, you do what you need to make things work. And I tell you, if I am an actor in a movie, I would love to have such a nice interior in a car that I have to do hours and hours of shooting. You guys want to take a peek at the motor? Let's take a peek at the motor. Oh, this is so nice. And by the way, roll bars in the movie. Carroll Shelby's car in the movie has a roll bar. Carroll Shelby's car in real life didn't have a roll bar. Because, you know, when you get into safety and insurance things for actors, you have to give a little in places. But like I said, based on the Boss 302 block, a very mild build, beautiful motor, beautiful running car. Brakes can use a little bit improvement, but hey, these things were not full-on race machines when they were constructed. So there's things that are different in between them. If you notice, it uses a Harrison tank. That is correct. But originally this Harrison tank and Harrison radiator as well, this Harrison tank was mounted here. And if the Harrison tank looks familiar, look at your old Corvettes because they also used them. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in tonight, where we could briefly go over why I have the lovely opportunity brought to you by Panavia, which brought these two cars here that gave me the opportunity to do this for you guys. So please, I don't post a lot of stuff, but when I post it, I try to post the great stuff. So tune in every once in a while, see what's happening, and I will see you guys out there.